So friends, today's topic is about water regulation in our body. So simple, if water is not regulated, that can lead to the dehydration or the overhydration. So this water is important requirement of the body, same as other minerals and vitamins. Now, how this water is distributed in our body, which are the factors and hormones they are regulating this water, that we will look in this video. So first of all, water distribution in our body. So in a normal adult person weighing around 70 kg, so in that person about 60% of body weight that is made up of the water. So total body water content is about 42 liter. It is in a two compartment. Intracellular means inside the cell, extracellular means outside of the cell. Extracellular, that is also divided in a two compartment, intravascular and extravascular. Intravascular, that is mainly in a blood. Vascular compartment means in the form of blood. So in blood of a normal adult person it is about 5 to 5.5 liter, but out of the blood, that is whole, not a water content, there is a some cellular compartment that is about 45 to 50 percentage. So overall that blood that is containing 2.8 liter of the water. So in blood more than 50% content that is of the water. Now further, daily input means intake and output of the water in relation to our normal adult person, that we will look. So for a normal adult person, intake per day, that is with the help of water in food, oxidation of food stuff, as well as drinking of water, while output, that is in the form of urine, as well as some loss of the water through the skin, lungs and feces. Now that is ranging about 2.5 to 3 liter per day. So that amount of intake is there, and same amount loss will be there. So that is maintaining balance. So intake and output, that is maintaining in the form of this water in food, oxidation of food stuff and drinking water, same way urine, skin, lung and feces. So that is main intake and output of the water. Further, in relation to oxidation of food stuff, 1 gram of carbohydrate, 1 gram of protein and 1 gram of lipid, that will also liberate small quantity of water, about 0.6, 0.4 and 1.1 ml. So it is roughly said, when we are taking 1000 kilocalorie energy, that will give about 125 ml of the water. So that is about our oxidation of foodstuff, because we are talking about biochemistry point of view. Further, in relation to this water balance, you have to take care of the thirst center and rate of metabolism. These two are the main controlling factor for the input of the water. So thirst center is stimulated when there is an increase in osmolality of the blood. So simple, when we are taking any concentrated solute, or if you are taking food stuff, then what happen, glucose level will be increased, and that will increase osmolality of the blood. So this increased osmolality will stimulate the thirst center, and that will lead to the increased intake. There is a more desire of the water will be there. So increased intake of the water is there simply by the increased osmolality of the blood. I have taken one example of the glucose. Same way, whenever the overall osmolality of the blood is increased, there is a thirst center is stimulated and increased desire of the water. Same way, kidney will control the rate of output in the form of urine. That also we will look with the help of which hormone. At present, you would remember loss through the skin, but it is under the control of the weather. So simple, that more loss of water is occurring, particularly in summer, in the form of perspiration, while loss of water is less, particularly in a cold climate. Now in relation to that, one particular clinical condition like fever. So in patient of fever, there are more chances of dehydration is there. Why? Because loss of water through the skin is increased to 13% for each degree rise in centigrade. So you have to take care of the dehydration. So you have to give proper fluid when there is a patient of a fever. So you have to take care of the dehydration. So when there is a overall increase in osmolality of the extracellular fluid, means more number of solute is present in the extracellular fluid, then what happens, that will lead to the stimulation of the osmoreceptor. So when this osmoreceptor is stimulated, that will increase the thirst center, and this increased activation of thirst center will lead to the more desire of the water and more intake of the water, as well as there is a increased antidiuretic hormone secretion. The name, that is antidiuretic. Diuresis means there is a for more urine formation and loss of the water in the form of urine. There is a diuresis, but here antidiuresis means prevent loss of the water. So increase ADH secretion, that will lead to the overall water retention. So these two, activation of thirst center and release of the ADH, both will lead to the increased water retention and water intake. So overall, that's osmolality, that will be again come down to the normal. But opposite thing will happen when overall decrease osmolality, because overall water content is more and solute concentration is decreased, that will is leading to a decreased osmolality of the extracellular fluid. Then what happened? There is a no stimulation of the osmoreceptor, and thirst center are not stimulated, means overall decreased desire of the water intake. Further, decreased ADH secretion and overall increased water excretion will be there. There is a no antidiuretic hormone, so overall there is a normal excretion, and that will overall loss of the water to maintain this osmolality of the extracellular fluid. Now further, the main hormone which are regulating this water balance, that we will look. So most important thing in this water balance, you have to take care of the hormones. So these are the main hormones that you have to keep in mind, or you have to remember, that is RAS system. So sometimes there is a separate short note can be asked, or it is asked in the exam and viva, what is RAS system? RAS, that is renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So renin angiotensin system, that is part of this RAS system. So renin angiotensin as well as aldosterone. Same way ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone, and one more, that is atrial natriuretic peptide. So these are the main hormone which are regulating water. So how they are regulating, that we will look one by one. So first of all, what happened, there is a osmolality is increasing, means overall solute concentration is increased. Sometime what happened, there is a decrease in blood pressure, or what happened, there is a blood volume is decreasing. In all these condition, when there is a drop in blood pressure, that is one given example. Same way, if there is a overall blood volume is decreased or overall increase in osmolality, then what happened, first of all, from the kidney, so that is identified by the kidney. Particularly, there is a juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney that will identify this loss of the blood volume, or there is a drop in blood pressure, so that will release the renin. Juxtaglomerular cells of kidney that will release renin, and this renin, when it is released, and this renin when present in the blood, that is converting angiotensinogen which is produced in the liver. So this angiotensinogen which is produced in the liver, that will be converted into the angiotensin 1. So renin which is produced in response to the high osmolality, drop in the blood volume, or the drop in the blood pressure. So renin is released from the kidney. So this renin will convert, which is present in the blood, that will convert angiotensinogen to the angiotensin 1. Now this angiotensin 1, that will be converted into the angiotensin 2, but for that this angiotensin 1 have to pass through the lung capillaries. So when this angiotensin 1 is passing from the lung capillaries, this one particular enzyme, angiotensin converting enzyme, which is converting 1 to the 2. So that angiotensin converting enzyme which is present in lung capillary, that is making conversion of angiotensin 1 to the angiotensin 2, and this one is the most active molecule. So this angiotensin 2 have effect over the three sides, over the brain, particularly hypothalamus, over the heart, as well as adrenal cortex. So what happened, overall there is a response to increased blood pressure. What happened, there is a initially drop in blood pressure, or decrease in blood volume, or there is an increase in osmolality. All these three things will be reversed in the presence of the angiotensin 2. But how it is working, with the help of these three organs. So first of all, hypothalamus. So this hypothalamus will be stimulated, and that will release this antidiuretic hormone, as well as thirst center is stimulated. Overall what happen, extracellular fluid volume that will be increased, and increased blood pressure. Suppose blood volume is decreased, and that will be again elevated with the help of increase in extracellular fluid volume, with the help of thirst center activation and release of antidiuretic hormone. Same way, there is a vasoconstriction. Overall vascular system will be contracted, and that will also helping to elevated blood pressure, and there is a balance in relation to the decreased blood volume. So overall that increased blood pressure, that is also helping to this particular it is possible with the help of vasoconstriction. Now what happened, adrenal cortex, it is not effect over that particular kidney, but there is a effect over the adrenal, there is a nearby to renal, so it is called adrenal cortex. So from the adrenal cortex, that aldosterone is released, and this aldosterone is again acting over the kidney. So what happened, this aldosterone have main function to retain sodium as well as water. So water and salt is retention, and overall that will also lead to the increase in blood pressure. So all these together, that is called renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So name of this system, that is RAS system, that is renin angiotensin aldosterone system. RAAS means renin angiotensin aldosterone system. So that is about the RAS system, that is the main regulation of the water. Further, in relation to this RAS system, you have to remember about angiotensinogen, which is produced mainly from the liver, that is about 453 amino acid. So it is produced in the liver, but it is inactive molecule. It is converted into the angiotensin 1. So it is converted into angiotensin 1, but it is possible with the help of renin only, which is produced from the JG cell, means juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney. And this release of renin, that will occur whenever there is a low in blood pressure, means blood pressure is decreased, volume of blood is decreasing, or overall osmolality is increasing. Then only renin will be released. When it will release, it is converting angiotensinogen to the angiotensin 1, but it is inactive molecule. So angiotensin 1, when it is passing from the lung capillaries, then there is an enzyme, angiotensin converting enzyme, and that will convert angiotensin 1 to the angiotensin 2. Now this angiotensin 2, which is converted with the help of ACE, that is angiotensin converting enzyme. So this angiotensin 2 and this angiotensin 3, these two are the most active molecule. So you have to remember angiotensin 1, up to here it is molecule is present, but it is in the inactive form. It has no effect over the hypothalamus, it has no effect over the heart, or it has no effect over the adrenal gland. But this angiotensin 2 and 3, they are the most active molecule. So it is about 8 amino acid and 7 amino acid. But from that angiotensin 2 and 3, they will be further degraded when its function is over. So you have to remember some clinical importance of this angiotensinogen. So angiotensin converting enzyme, that is one of the glycoprotein which is present in lung capillary, and the inhibitor of this ACE are useful in treating of the edema and congestive cardiac failure. So sometimes there is a extensive ACE activity, or this due to this ACE activity, what happen, the extensive retention of water and sodium is there. So particularly in edema and congestive cardiac failure, we have to lose more number of water and sodium from the body, and to for the loss of these water and sodium, we have to prevent activity of this angiotensin converting enzyme. So ACE inhibitor means inhibitor of that enzyme, that is used to prevent formation of angiotensin 2 and 3. So this one will be there, but it is in the inactive form. So that is one of the importance in clinical practice. So ACE inhibitor are useful in treating patient of the edema and congestive cardiac failure. Same way, antagonist of the ACE, so it is working against the angiotensin converting enzyme. Same way, analog of angiotensin 2, so there is a competitive inhibition of the angiotensin 2, altogether are also useful to treat renin dependent hypertension. Suppose there is some condition where there is excessive secretion of renin. So if renin is excessively secreted, then that will really lead to the more formation of angiotensin 2 and 3, and that can lead to increased blood pressure. But if it is not under control, so that can be treated, and if it is creating hypertension, so that can simply treated by the giving of this analogous of the angiotensin 2 as well as antagonist of the angiotensin converting enzyme. So that is the clinical importance of the angiotensin converting enzyme. And RAS means renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Now what is aldosterone? That already we have discussed in a sodium. So mineralocorticoid, so that is produced by the zona glomerulosa of the renal cortex. So it is produced with the help of this adrenal gland, and this adrenal gland which is releasing aldosterone. So when this aldosterone is released, that is effect over the kidney tubules. So that main function of this aldosterone to causes reabsorption of the sodium in exchange of the potassium and hydrogen. So simple, you have to remember, when aldosterone is released, and that will effect over the kidney. When it is effect over the kidney tubules, what happens? Sodium will be reabsorbed in the exchange of potassium and hydrogen. So overall hydrogen and potassium will be lost in the urine, while sodium will be retained inside the body. So main function to retain sodium, that is by function of the aldosterone, one of the mineralocorticoids. Further, one more hormone, that is ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone or the vasopressin. So it is produced from the posterior pituitary gland, and high plasma osmolality or fluid loss of more than 5%, that will lead to the stimulation of the osmoreceptor of the hypothalamus, and that will release the antidiuretic hormone. So when this hormone is released, that will lead to the reabsorption of the water from the distal convoluted tubules and collecting ducts. So overall that DCT and from the CD of kidney, that will be reabsorbed. So it is produced from the posterior pituitary gland in the relation of the release of hormone, releasing hormone of the hypothalamus. For the natriuretic peptide, so polypeptide hormone produced from the right atrium. So here opposite thing will be there. So polypeptide hormone which is produced from the right atrium, and it is produced in response to the increased cardiac stretch. So here cardiac stretch is increased. So simple, you can think that when there is an increased blood volume, overall blood volume is increased, that will lead to the excessive cardiac stretching, and when there is an excessive cardiac stretching, that will lead to the release of this particular natriuretic peptide. So this will lead to the decreased aldosterone production. Overall aldosterone production will be decreased. Then what happens? Sodium retention will be decreased, more sodium excretion as well as water loss. So overall increase water and sodium loss in the urine. So there is a overall loss of the water and urine when there is a cardiac stretch. Cardiac stretch is occurring mainly there is a increased blood volume. So increased blood volume will lead to the cardiac stretch, that will release this natriuretic peptide, particularly right atrium, that is atrial natriuretic peptide. Now already we have discussed one important parameter marker, that is BNP, that is brain natriuretic peptide. It is important marker for a cardiac failure. So in a cardiac function test we have discussed that BNP, that is important marker for a cardiac failure. So that is another important hormone which is regulating water balance. For the thirst center, so help to maintain normal fluid balance. So normally this thirst is the main center which is overall regulating our water. Overall, when there is a 1% increase in osmolarity causing the thirst center to activate. Further, if blood volume is decreased about 5%, that will also stimulate the thirst center. Now, suppose that water SS is decreased or what poor thirst center activity, and that will lead to the there is a no intake of the water and overall solid concentration is increased. So main cation, that is sodium, and that can lead to the hypernatremia. So that is related with the water balance. So you have to take care of that. If you are not taking water in proper amount, that simply lead to the hypernatremia. So that is overall how water is distributed in our body and how it is regulated with the help of different factor like osmolality, blood volume and blood pressure, as well as how hormone is regulating this water, that all discussed in this video.